Yo guys, what is up? Today we're going to be doing a full video on the build process of my LS-Vtec block. This is pretty much just going to be covering a lot of stuff but also missing out on a lot of stuff, and so that is why I wanted to create this segment before the actual video starts. So at the time, me deciding to create this channel was after a couple events had already happened with this engine, and so I'm just going to kind of put those in chronological order to make a little bit more sense. So starting out, I already had the engine out of the car, and I already had it taken apart, and I already had it at the machine shop. So from the moment this video picks up, it's already after it's been machined, and I had everything done to it. So I basically told the guy, look, I want to put this engine together myself, but everything else that it needs I want done. So I brought in the pistons, rods, block, and crank, and then I basically told him balance the assembly, bore, hone, deck the block, anything you feel like you need to do, just go ahead and do it. And so that's what happened. Pretty much everything got taken care of. After that, I brought the block back to my shop and basically set it up on the engine stand again. And that's about where this picks up. I decided I wanted to get it clean, so I cleaned it up a little bit more. And then I decided I want to go ahead and put a fresh coat of paint on it. And that's where this segment is going to start now. Okay, here's a quick update. Got my block all taped up, paint stripped, kind of polished a little bit. I'm ready to try to lay down a first coat of paint, so let's see how this goes. Hopefully it sticks. Shouldn't be too wet now, but I'll hit it with a torch and melt all that off. Get that all ready to go. Fingers crossed. Okay, there's our first coat of primer, at least on this area, as well on the other side. Hopefully not too bad. Okay, so the second coat's on, and I've touched it all up. Looking pretty good in my opinion. Okay, so there's the block after a second coat and some touch-up. I think it looks really good, actually. I love the way it pops out. Mounts, it drives a little bit more. I'll be taking this cover off and we can actually see what it looks like compared to the bare metal, but here's kind of a spot I didn't get. Kind of see it's still dirty. I didn't clean in here. Just compared to the new metallic, we'll get a better view of that one that's off. There you go. It's a little bit drier now. You can see a pretty good contrast between the block and the original like aluminum. I guess it would be probably about the same if it was polished, but I'm not going to have the time to do that. And I just want this to be looking a little better when I put it back in the car, because I do want this car to be basically show ready. Anyway, I'm going to leave it where it's at for tonight. Leave it exactly where it's at, and then tomorrow I'll come back in. And if it needs a little bit more, hit it with another coat. This might be stupid, but it's been a long day, and I want to have some fun before I sell this car. To put this into perspective, the video I made not too long ago about this car and where it's come from and where it is now, that was a few days ago. But yeah. Okay, so between the actual day I finished with the painting and the time I started putting the engine together, I think it was a couple months had passed. So the video segment you saw me painting the engine happened, and then literally the next day after I drove that car, like 2 or 3 days later, I sold that car. Which is okay, that's just for the chronological order of everything. After I sold that car, I basically immediately hit order on all the parts I needed. So I got the complete lower end and all the bearings and everything I need for that, and got it all bought together. So between that section, a couple weeks passed, and now we're going to get into the full build process. Starting off, initially I noticed there was some metal sand in one of the main oil journals, and I'll be honest, I was not super happy about this. I had this block professionally cleaned, and then later I found some in the coolant jacket, so I really hope that the rest of this block is clean, as I really don't want metal debris flying through my oil galleys or through the coolant at all, so fingers crossed with that at this time. But the reason I found it is because I wanted to start checking clearances. I had the machine shop measure, and they told me the standard size bearings would work fine, but I just wanted to do a quick check with Plastigauge. Plastigauge is a very crude way of measuring clearances. Basically, it's just this plasticky wax stick, more or less, and you stick it between your engine parts, assemble it as you would, and then depending on how much it squishes out, kind of gives you a range to estimate what your clearances are at. And this is important in engine building because this pretty much dictates everything, like how much wiggle or space between parts there is. That's extremely important. So basically the way I did this, as you're seeing, is I basically just put the engine together dry after cleaning it. So you can see me taking and putting the first bearing down and then putting the crankshaft in. And then pretty much I just guess what size of Plastigauge I need, put it down on the clean crankshaft, and then very carefully place the top bearing down, and then basically just assemble the engine with that one bearing as you would. So I made sure to torque the main cap to spec, and this engine has a 2-step process, which you'll see me do. and then basically I just take it back apart and inspect how much of the plastic gauge has squished out. I guess that's what we're here to see, because that looks a little bit not at all like what I need. Maybe a little smaller, maybe closer to the 0.10. 0.010, sorry. Close enough. If not, we'll find out one way or another. So after taking a look at the footage, I found that there's about a 0.10 to 0.11 clearance there, which is within spec. I believe it needs to be at 0.12 to 0.009. So I'm basically right there in the middle of the clearance range, which should have no issues. After that, I basically just started putting things all back together after cleaning them again. A very crucial part to assembling an engine is having a very thick film of assembly oil, which you can see I'm doing here. I may have used too much, I'm not really sure, it's my first time. After getting this all put together, I had to do a quick Google search to find out where the thrust bearings are supposed to go. I didn't really pay attention to this on disassembly, so once I found that out, I was able to put them where they needed to go in the correct orientation and then go on from there. Facing the front of the engine, that's number 4. This is the one I did my test with. Number 2 facing that way. 5 facing that way. Facing that way. Did you notice something? I just learned that there are 2 different size bolt lengths on this engine, and now I gotta take them back apart and put it back together to find out which ones go in the correct orientation. Oh, they are different. There are different sizes. Okay, so where do the long ones go then? Not there. I bet the long ones go to that one. Not there either. Okay, try this again. Oh, that was a bad day. It's going off. Okay, and then to 56. So I still have to put together all of this. That's something I haven't even started yet, so I better do that first. Oh, I see, they're in a set. I thought I was missing 1 or 2. I'm not liking now. This is sticking out so far. There we go. Okay, well, there's a set of oil control rings. Easy enough. Time for our second ring on the compression. I think this is the second compression ring technically. Well, that one easier than the other one. Let's get the first one on. I had all these gapped at the machine shop. I was gonna do it myself, but you know how it is. Okay, do that all on all of them now. Okay, now I'll be honest, between this section and the last, I got a little carried away, and I actually installed all of the pistons into the engine without hitting record. So first of all, I hope I did that right, because I have no way to check that. But second of all, we're just going to start off with me putting the caps back onto the rods. Yeah, we're going to send these to 45. That's an executive decision.
Alright.
Oh, that might be too many. Quick, I still want to try it on myself. How do you know? When this shit blows the f up, I want you guys to say I was there.
Alright, okay.
Well, it actually feels pretty good.
Looks pretty
I need to lube the cylinders before I fire it off, obviously.
Yeah.
Put it together just to give them something. But... Okay. That's the bottom end in it. Hopefully those are all that's right. Okay, so it's the next day and I just went back and started putting the rest of the engine together. The main components are already there, but I just spent a few hours, getting everything cleaned and making sure like all the mating surfaces were good and ready to go, as well as just getting some of the parts cleaned off from the sticky, grimy, oily, and dirty mess they were sitting on the floor. And here you can see me putting some high quality sealer on the mating surface on the rear main cover. That's it? Oh man. Let's go to 12. This one just keeps going. I think that's a sign to stop. This one too. Alright, we're just gonna leave them right where they're at. Perfect. I think there's supposed to be a seal there. I don't have a seal there. You too. Try that. Yeah. Dang, bro, there's nothing. I know, it's just a griddle. Okay, so here's the funny thing. I think I just found that O-ring that I didn't have. How do we do this surgery without pulling it all the way out? I don't think the gasket is set up yet. It looks like there is one that is the right size, so maybe that'll save me a trip down the road. It's still kind of tacky. I might have been able to stick it back on, but I don't want to have any issues with this engine later. especially not leaks from the high pressure oil pump. Round 2. Actually, some of these are getting round 3. Now I gotta figure out where the bolts, or sorry, is this gasket not for this car? Oh, it is. I think it's every 3. I think it's all the blind holes, because there's some in here that don't have an exit. Well, there's more than that. I don't know. Okay, when it comes to these Honda oil pans, there's 2 things you gotta kind of do. Over here, and in the corners on both sides where these meet, you need to add a little silicone, or it's just gonna leak. There's basically a microscopic gap there, and if there's even a little bit of a hole, oil finds a way every time. Some people like to go crazy and they'll put it a lot like on the whole surface of it. I don't know. I haven't really had good luck or bad luck either way. Pretty much every oil pan I've ever done just perpetually leaks, to be honest. This is the highest quality gasket I've ever used, so hopefully that has something to say about this. And I think it just goes right like this. Okay, now based on my list, I found that the oil pan is about 9 foot-pounds. That feels pretty low to me. I'm gonna double check and we'll go from there. Okay, based on all data specs, that is a 10 foot-pounds, or sorry, 9. Okay, I know you're probably asking why I'm reusing this one, because it is totally screwed up. To be honest, I don't know. I don't have another one at the time, and I kind of want to get this going. Eventually, I want to turbo this car, and so I plan to eventually drill a hole and tap in or weld in a bung for the oil return. At that time, I might as well get a new one, but for today, not a big deal. But anyway, I went around all the way around once. I'm just going to go around again, make sure these are all torqued. Basically, the last thing I can do today is the water pump. Luckily, I have that. Again, this is one of those situations where most people will put the O-ring in and then slap a little bit of silicone around on it. Away on those dowels. Try that. A little better there. A little better there. This one asks for 12 Newton meters. Whatever that is equal to. Okay, I think at this point this is about as far as I'm going to be able to get. I basically got the whole bottom end back together. Pistons, rods, everything, all the bearings, the water pump, all the gaskets and everything set up as well. All sealed and everything. I need to work on the timing components still, get all that put back together, but I don't have some of the stuff I need for that at this moment in time. But yeah, that's both of the covers for your rear and front end seal. Everything basically, so pretty much step 1 of the whole process. Okay, so I'm actually out of my shop clothes now. That pretty much marks the end of the first half. That's pretty much all I can do on that block at the time. It's actually over here. I got everything put away and taken care of. The guy I work next to is actually an extreme clean freak, and it makes him mad when I leave stuff out. So anyway, looking at the block, I pretty much got it all taken care of. It's pretty much as much as we're going to be able to do at this time. So pretty much marks the end of the first segment. I've still got to do the head and timing components, and then just little things to button it up, as well as putting it back in the car and all that stuff. But this is actually one of the things I needed to get done. This is actually one of the most stressful things I've done in a long time as well, because even though it's pretty basic and straightforward, a lot of these components are very precise. They require a lot of focus, and one little mistake such as maybe a grain of sand left in a bearing can cause catastrophic engine failure. That's what I'm really trying to avoid. This is my first build that I'm actually trying to get running again, so pretty anxious about that, but I'm actually glad that it's taken care of. It's taught me quite a lot. One thing I need to work on is better organization, especially on these long-term projects. I did okay because I've tried to organize things, but it would have been better if I had noted them in and put them in bags with notes on them, and then put all that into a box that I knew wasn't going to get touched, because I kind of just left a lot of things like with the part in a section where I didn't think things would get touched, but sometimes they do. So anyway, that's about everything. Thank you for watching. As always, comment or subscribe. Stay tuned for the next part.